My name is Denise. As everybody knows, I work for First Citizens Bank. So as a Community Development Officer, I'm here to tell you about CRA funding. Does anybody know what CRA is? Anyone? Not you. Okay, cool. That helps. So I don't want to bore anybody, so I'm going to try to make it as light and important part of it so that you understand how CRA funding is how it's going to help your organization. And it's opportunities for investments that banks have available to nonprofits to support communities, okay? So what's CRA funding? So now all banks are heavily regulated by the government. And without boring you too much, CRA stands for the Community Reinvestment Act. It was an act, I'm sure we can recall, back in 1977, as the Fair Lending Act came out, all these acts that were coming out to protect our rights. An act was put in place so that depository institutions to help meet the credit needs of the community in which they serve. And what that means, basically, is that banks are taking everybody's deposit. So because they're taking everyone's deposits, they need to lend to everybody and support everybody. So they need to provide opportunities, products, services that support everyone in the community, not everybody at the top of the income salary scale, okay? So that's why CRA came to be. Banks I won't say that they enjoy having this regulation, but it's one of many regulations. And I think it's a very important one, and it helps myself and Emory to be able to get out there and do real work that will support our communities. Sorry, I printed this out, and then I was telling Juma on the computer screen it was big, and then when I printed it out, I was like, I cannot see this. Okay, so banks help with credit needs through mortgage loans, through small business, through grants, which is something that I do, community investment loans, which is something that I do, to support low to moderate income individuals. So low to moderate income individuals that live in a low to moderate income census tract, okay? And now in California, the AMI of people is like 80,000. You have to make, I think, 70 to 80,000, and you're considered low to moderate. You're in that moderate range, which is just crazy the way the economy is now. So it's important to make note of, and understand how banks look and review this, because they have the regulatory side, obviously, that they are looking to work with, right, and provide solutions for. So the government regulatory agencies will review each bank's performance, right? They'll come in, somebody from the FDIC, the OCC, and they'll say, okay, First Citizens Bank, let's see what you guys have done for CRA. How many investments have you made? How many grants have you done? How many loans, mortgages have you done to the low to moderate income individuals and families in the areas where you support? And the areas where they support are important because if the bank has to have a footprint in that area to be able to say that, so that they can say, okay, now we have to invest, now we have to support, now we have to do something for this community. But nowadays this is all changing, and the regulations in process of changing, because with digital banking, banks are everywhere now. Okay, so again, that the reg is about to change again, and they're making changes to it to kind of expand the assessment areas for banks to support. So they come in, they'll look at us, and they'll say, okay, let's see what you've done. And they'll pull up a list, and they'll say, okay, how responsive has this bank been? Performance for their responsiveness to identify the needs of the community they serve, okay? So the review is critical for the bank to grow. That's why banks care about this, because they cannot acquire another bank. They cannot grow unless they get a favorable result on this performance. Okay, so that's where you guys come in, which I have to say, this is what I love about my job, because when we walked in, the warmness you feel automatically, that to me is why there's people like us, like me, that do this, because I'm humbled and appreciative of the work that you're doing and taking an active role in supporting the less underserved in our community. Okay, so who can benefit from the activity? Well, when banks use activity, they're referring to like the type of lending, the volunteering, or a grant that was provided. So is the LMI or small business benefiting? Why? Because when we see our small businesses, right, our low to moderate income families and individuals growing economically, that's when communities move up, right? We all know that without the small businesses, there would be no communities, right? So everybody knows that. So that's what's important for the bank. They're like, are we helping the LMI community? Are we helping small businesses? Are we helping affordable housing? So we're looking at those type of activities, right? And is the activity that you're creating in your organization, whatever you're planning, right? Is it going to provide sustainable support, right? Or is it a one and done? How sustainable is it going to be? And the reason why I look at that, because I want to help you to provide an impact that's long term, right? You know, so that it goes on for years to come. That the impact is there to sustain, you know, the ups and downs. Okay, and is the activity innovative? Because that's the other thing. I don't know about you guys, but I've dealt with banks for a long time, and they are so set in their ways. You know, and I'm so happy about this because it's the opportunity like for us to think outside the box, right? How can we innovate in our community to lift up, right? What kind of opportunity can we bring in and change it in a way that will be innovative and is not something that's been thought of before? Did your activity involve collaboration of other entities, for example? You know, are you partnering with other nonprofits? Are you working with the city, with some of the leaders, things of that nature? So those are things that we look at. So in California, for example, our biggest need across our state is affordable housing and economic development, right? We all know that. And I'm sure you're wondering, okay, well, we all know that, Denise, but how is my organization going to benefit from the CRA funding? Well, first, what we'll do, any bank will do, is they'll look at your website. So we're going to look at your website first. We look at your website, and then we say, what's the nonprofit's mission? What's their vision statement, right? And if you read the reg, it says you have to support a majority of low to moderate income individuals or families. So not 50%, it has to be 51 or more. Okay, that's pretty critical because you want to make sure when you're creating your websites, don't box yourself in to not have an opportunity to receive investments from banks, right? So if you're saying, listen, we are targeting our low to moderate income families and individuals, the underserved in the community, you know, that's something to pick up on when you're doing your missions because banks will look at that and our examiners look at it. That's why we're looking at it as well. So we look at that statement to see if it fits within the regulation. Then we're going to say what education or volunteer opportunities do they provide, right? I know there's a lot of banks out there, depending upon how big your reach is, you know, they're willing to, you know, write a check and, you know, support your opportunity. I know for myself at Emory, we're not looking for that. We want to be involved. We want to come help. I did cartwheels here when Najuma asked us to come because I was like, well, thank you. But we want to be involved. They're paying people 8 hours of work. That's free labor for you for whatever it is that you need. So that's an opportunity for you to take advantage of that you don't need. That's a resource for you. And say, I have a volunteer opportunity. And if that bank says, oh, no, we can't make it. There's another bank right in line that will help out as well. You know, and so I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that as well. Also, then we're going to look at the statistics on the low to moderate income individuals participating that are served and targeted in these programs. So is it education and housing? Is it workforce development and or community type needs, right? So those are things that I hope that you'll note, but also I hope you know I am a resource. So is Emory. You can email me. You can text me. Just give me a minute to get back because I do have over 200 organizations that I work with. But for myself, I'm looking to have a more meaningful relationship with my organizations. I want to know and visit and hang out with and volunteer at these organizations. So we'll reach out to the organization, somebody will ask you, hey, is the majority of the program participants, do they serve low to moderate income individuals? And we're gonna say, yeah, 51% or more. That's what we wanna remember. And then how is that determined? Are you doing case management? Like maybe you take an intake form? How is it that you come to that? Obviously, I'll be honest, like in some organizations that we work with that support homeless, it's obvious, right? So there's no expectation that you're taking an intake form. It's obvious. So, keep that in mind. But also, it's an opportunity for you to cross your T's and dot your I's. So those are the things, yeah. So then we're going to ask you that, and then we're going to determine this. Does the organization offer any volunteer? Okay, sorry about that. So what I have here is a scenario that I pulled out so that you guys I could tell you about my scenario of how it would not look favorable by our regulators, and then there's a B scenario part of it where it would look favorable, to kind of give you an idea, right? Kind of how we look at it. And it's very from the banking side. So if you have questions, please, during our Q&A, I'm here for that. I really, really would appreciate it. So for my first scenario is a $980 million bank donated 40 laptops to a local nonprofit organization focused on adult literacy programs. Bank employees provided 50 volunteer hours to the organization. Scenario 1. Then here's scenario 2 of the same thing, okay? The organization provides programs for adult learners in GED prep, basic literacy, English as a second language, basic computer classes, and employment skills. According to the organization's executive director, 100% of the clients served are low income. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the organization had to shift most of its programming to virtual format. The laptops have combined value of $18,000. The organization distributed the donated laptops directly to the program participants who did not own or otherwise have access to a laptop. An employee from the bank's IT department taught 3 2-hour basic computer skill classes that combined reached 72 individuals. A community needs assessment report recently issued by a local action agency identified digital equity as one of the top 5 issues in this area. So as you can see, 1 and 2 there's a big difference, right? And so that is what banks are looking for. They should be, okay? Some of them will, I've given you the parameters of how you would be able to submit like a proposal request for a grant and what would be needed, right? The parameters are that you have to serve majority low to moderate income individuals, has to support either economic development, affordable housing, restabilization, and community service. Okay, so the community service aspect, I do want to. It's not that we don't care about community service; just be mindful about how you're coming. So we will help low to moderate income individuals for, donating food and things of necessity. We will do that. Again, I would be happy to talk to you like how to really write that to support the approval of the grant, because that's what they're going to be looking for when you're submitting a grant proposal to a bank. Banks want to help your organization, and finding those opportunities to partner is super critical for them. And a bank should not only be writing a check to your organization, they should be creating programs that support your community's economy. So that's what I work for. I'm very passionate about affordable housing. So I work with our bank representatives and push them to find programs that will support our low to moderate income families with down payment assistance, right? Is it a first-time home buyer, first generation? Can we get down payment assistance where we're putting down more than 20% of the sales price of the sales price of the property. So those are things that I am passionate about. Also, we're not just here to help. We want to support you, we want to invest in you, but we also want you to invest in us. Make that, if you are worried, questioning about how your bank should go, how your bank statements, what I'm finding now is a lot of my organizations that I have worked with for the last 6 or 7 years have been with the same bank. And I know it's a hassle to change banks and do all that stuff, but remember, if you're not keeping us competitive, then who's going to keep us competitive in our industry? Match it up. Who's charging me this? Who's charging me that? These are opportunities that you need to be aware of and keep eyes wide open, right? Because we do want to invest in you. We want, if you need a loan or to buy another property, to buy another commercial building because you're expanding. If you need resources like Denise, I'm not sure about how to build my board. Oh, I got people. I have resources. I have people that work in that. And that's what we're here for, to help you grow so that you can continue to grow and do what you're doing, which you're good at. And when it comes to banking, that's what First Citizens Bank has to do, be there for you. And that's their number one responsibility. That's why we want to help you. And that's why it's important for us to keep us, competitive and maintain that competitiveness. But also, again, it's our relationship too. I don't know if you've had experience with other banks. I know for First Citizens Bank, I've told this to Dr. Najuma as well, we're here to not just sign the check, we want to be involved. If you need us to join a committee, if you want us to come in and give our 2 cents, we will. And we want to be there, we want to help in any way we can.